In December 2019, an unknown source of pneumonia first occurred in Wuhan City, Hubei province of China. The International Taxonomy of Viruses, or also known as ICTV, recognized it as a new coronavirus, or also known as COVID-19. Mabuhay! I am Kathleen Pascua, a third-year student from University of Southern Mindanao, Philippines. Together with my co-researcher, Sir Ruben Tagare, we will present our study entitled New Normal Education in Action, the Untold Stories of Senior High School Physical Education Teachers. At the peak of pandemic, teachers and administrators were caught off guard by the suddenness of the issue and were obliged to construct emergency remote learning systems fairly immediately. The government devised a strategy for dealing with the problems brought by the pandemic. Teachers are adjusting to the new normal education in the Philippines as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and there are factors affecting their pedagogical instruction. In accordance with this, the educational system abruptly shifted from studying in the four corners of the classroom to learning via the use of devices. Studies to investigate the lived experiences of physical education teachers in teaching physical education in the midst of pandemic is barely sufficient. Hence, to bridge this gap, this study focused on senior high school teachers' actual experiences in teaching physical education and health in the middle of a pandemic. The purpose of this study is to identify the favorable experiences of senior high school teachers in teaching physical education amidst pandemic. The findings of this study were provided a clear picture of what feasible recommendations can be suggested to enhance their teaching style in the midst of pandemic. Furthermore, this study helped the following people. First, the readers, since they had able to learn about the real-life experiences of physical education instructors. Second is for physical education instructors. They would have a notion on how to cope with the situations they are now encountering. And lastly, for future researchers. This work will be useful as a secondary data or a reference for their research. This research utilized a qualitative phenomenological research design to delve deeper the information about the experiences of senior high school physical education teachers amidst the pandemic. Participants from selected schools in Cotabato province in the Philippines took part in an in-depth interview while closely adhering to the safety protocols brought by the COVID-19 pandemic. The materials that were primarily used in this study are a list of guide questions that was validated by experts. The researchers used camera and video recorder to keep the gathered data. To examine the transcribed data, the researcher performed a verbatim transcription. So the researcher performed a thematization process through 3 steps. The first step is data reduction, wherein filtering the data from the participants and converting it into tables and discussions. The second step is data display, wherein presenting the organized data. And lastly, the conclusion, drawing, and verification. It is where the major inputs was summarized, and in contrast to this, the verification helped to strengthen the conclusion through examining the given data. And lastly, to cluster relevant ideas, validation and triangulation were done to ensure the accuracy of the essential themes generated from the research participants. So for the results and discussion, the Table 1 explains themes and core ideas of lived experiences of senior high school physical education teachers in teaching physical education amidst pandemic. The first major theme consolidated the emerging responses that discuss the observation of the teachers and our engagement of the students to the new learning platform. Students are motivated and encouraged to learn and participate actively in the class if and only if the teacher should provide enough goals and standards to achieve the high-order thinking skills of the students. The second theme narrates the observation of physical education teachers based on the negative experiences of students as they go on with their new learning platform. This implies that the teachers are having difficulties as well in imparting the lessons because the fact that some of the students are having poor internet connection, lack of financial stability, and illiterate in technology by having difficulties in the new learning platform. The third theme refers to the positive experiences of the physical education teachers as they impart knowledge and ideas in the new platform of learning. Educators should supply learning resources and be technologically educated in order to better administer and convey courses to students, especially now that we are suffering a pandemic. So for the theme 4, it explores the various aspects that may influence educators' ability to convey and prepare modules to students. As a result of the unforeseen disruption in the educational system caused by the epidemic, most teachers are having difficulty generating instructional materials. So for the theme 5, learning physical education in the midst of pandemic is difficult due to the fact that most teachers, particularly those allocated to rural areas, had difficulties in imparting lessons. It was due to a lack of equipment and resources, as well as certain teachers' lack of expertise in the field of modern platform. So for the last theme, for the table 1, the theme focuses on instructors because they have gained new learning concepts for improving their lessons and efficiently imparting them to students. Teachers required innovative learning technique in order to benefit students as it is tough to absorb new facts and ideas in this time of pandemic. So for the table 2, which explains the themes and core ideas of lived experiences of physical education teachers that shape their motivation and commitment in teaching physical education amidst pandemic. So for the theme 1, being sufficiently motivated and dedicated in teaching physical education will go a long way toward bettering the implementation of physical education in the face of pandemic. So physical education is not easy subject to teach because it requires more effort and time to prepare everything in order to deliver the lessons effectively. The second theme is that teachers make their negative experiences as a challenge to help them motivate and encourage to teach physical education. So for the table 3, which explains the themes and ideas of suggestions and recommendations of physical education teachers to better implement the subject amidst the pandemic. The theme 1 explains that every institution is adjusting to the new normal platform, which is why the majority of the institutions stated above required funding from the government in order to better impart lessons to the students. The theme 2, excellent teachers foster positive, caring relationships that encourage students to believe in themselves. Excellent teachers engage students in meaningful learning and aim to motivate them on an inherent level, and they think that they are responsible for their students' learning and development. So skilled teachers are extremely beneficial, especially to the educational system changes as a result of the recent pandemic. So for the theme 3, the pandemic hit the education system, which is why for better implementation of the system, we should adhere to the government policies to have an effective outcome. The government created some rules and regulations for us to be safe in accordance to the rapid spread of the virus. So for the theme 4, allow physical education to devote time and attention in imparting lessons to the students. And for the last theme, the sudden spread of the virus forced the educational system to abandon face-to-face connection in favor of an online platform, which is why teachers must put forth a sufficient effort and implement specific pedagogical tactics to assist students in efficiently absorbing the lessons. This study concludes that majority of students are engaged and driven to learn even if they are having problems adjusting to the rapid changes in the educational system. This study also concludes that teachers are given the opportunity for personal and professional development in order to acquire new knowledge and ideas, and how to cope with the new learning platform. The next conclusion for this is that teachers have also faced challenges in implementing quality physical education, with the majority of them dealing with the shortage of internet speed, insufficient materials and equipment, lack of competence in manipulating technology-based resources, and limited budget allotted by the government. This study also concludes that physical education teachers' experiences, whether positive or negative, made them stronger and more courageous in the face of the challenges they are currently experiencing. The schools should follow the norms and the rules to protect the safety of both teachers and students when using the school's fitness facilities. So based on the finding, summary, and conclusion of this research, these are the following recommendations. Administrators should allocate budget for upgrading teacher skills, particularly through specialized information and communication technology or ICT trainings and seminars. The second recommendations is that major in physical education teachers with significant knowledge and in-depth expertise in the competencies of physical education should be hired by school administrators, since they are more efficient in the hands-on teaching learning. The last recommendation is that schools may allocate budget for facilities and equipment for a top priority in order to ensure that sufficient funds are available to build and strengthen the physical education. Once again, mabuhay, and thank you for listening.